Yes, hello and welcome to this lesson of 3D Studio Max. This lesson comes in two parts. In the first part, I will be talking about the material ID and how you can have multiple materials assigned to one object. For this practice, I start with the window because it has five different material IDs, and we can easily incorporate this lesson into this. So far, you know about the material, my students at nearest university. You can assign any material, like for example, let's say I assign this to the wall, so it's okay. Then I'll go ahead and assign something to the window, but it goes for the entirety of the window. If I want to make it transparent, it doesn't make any sense to leave it like this, because now the entire window frame and everything is transparent. So we want to solve this issue before we actually copying. Like imagine that you're building an apartment building. There are maybe 50, 60 windows. You don't want to have to go because you know about turning to editable poly and changing the material. So you can do it like this. You can convert it to editable poly. This is one way. Go for the polygons. Make sure that you select both sides because it has two sides. This part. Again, M on the keyboard for material, and you can assign something transparent to this. And you see now this is transparent, and we can see through this. And you can assign something for the frame. So let's say, except for these two, you assign this one and then you make it dark. So this is one way, but it's not the most efficient way. Now you see we have a perfectly good window with two materials assigned to this. But this is not the way that I want to go for this lesson, because I want to be able to work with smart object, with the wall. Because now if I try to incorporate this, I lose the ability to link it. You can link it manually by like making boolean or making like inset extrusion in the wall. That's also a possibility, but it might be a little bit more time consuming. For this lesson, I'm showing material ID. Let's say this window, same window as this one. If you right click, I'm just making an example again. You copy this, convert it to editable poly. Now, if you go to polygon, you click on any of these polygon, and you come down here, you will see this thing called the material ID. Where is the material ID? Yes, it's here. Polygon material ID. Okay. Now the glass, click on the glass. You see it's always number 3. Let's look at the exterior frame. Number 5. The exterior frame, the inset part, is number 2. So we have for the frames, the one here inside number 4, and the internal one number 1. So 4 and 1 for the interior, 5 and 2 for the exterior, and 3 for the glass. Okay, so now you can create a material that addresses all of these together. For this, you press M, go to material, but it doesn't work really well in the compact material editor. So I click on the mode and I go to the slate material editor. Here, you have this material under your general material. You have this thing called multi-subobject. So you create one of these, and you can see this is where you can bring 5, 6, 10 different materials to one material and assign it to an object which you already defined the material ID for. I will show another example as well. So for the window, I double click. So after I can see it's highlighted with a dash line. You see the number of materials is here, set number. For the window I have 5, so I press 5. Now, let's say I want to have a glass. So I can assign 5 different materials to this. I don't want to assign 5 different materials, but anyway, let's start with that. So let's 1 here. I minimize this so it doesn't. And then shift and drag. So let's say you have 5 outputs here. Let's say inputs. I need 3 actually, because I don't want to have it that much complicated. Alright, so let's say this is your work area. Let's say you click on the first one and you go ahead and change this. Sorry about that. I wanted to do the architectural. So let's create one architectural material. Minimize this. Let's give the I will give them the name. So 1 and let's say 2. Okay, let's call the first one glass. Always try to, if you're working in a professional project, always try to keep it professional. So the second one, double click, let's keep it like inner frame, and let's say this one, double click on it and call it outer frame. Okay, make it minimized, I don't want to see this. Okay, now the glass, you know the drill. Architectural material, we created first one glass, you go to the template, you change it to glass clear. Oh, we did change this one, doesn't matter. No, it does. So this one, you go change it to glass clear. The second one, inner frame. Let's say the inner frame is timber or a wooden like kind of material. So I click on this and then I go ahead and change it to wood varnished. So the inner frame. The outer frame, I go ahead and change it to metal, just so you see metal. All right. Maybe I change the color of the metal to a darker color, a really dark metal. Okay, this is fine. Now the glass, the inner and the outer. So you check your note. Glass was number 3. So you just drag this small circle here. You drag and you connect it to number 3. The inner material was 2 and 5. So I pick this to 2 and I connect it also to number 5. The outer frame, you can assign different materials. If you want to have 5 different materials assigned to this, you can. If you want to have the inner part aluminium or something else, go ahead and do that. Like you can't have 5 different materials assigned to this. I'm just trying to keep it a little bit more simple. So number 1 and 4 were for the external material. And now we have the material ready here. Make sure just that it should be all, if you have pictures assigned to this or bitmap, it should be also here. You have to make it visible in the viewport. Now, let's add something else here. Let me go ahead and like bring a kind of a timber. Let me find the folder that I prepared for you. I have so many different things going on here. All right. So I have something timber here. This one, let's say, not the best timber, but it's good enough for now. Let's bring this here, and then I put it beside the timber. I enlarge this, and I attach it to the diffuse color, and I attach it to the bump. So you know the drill here. Bump for the texture, diffuse for the diffuse color. Is already a little bit shiny because it's varnished glass. Now you double click on it. If you want to increase the bump map, you go to special, it's on 100. If you want to decrease it to 50 or make it a little bit smoother, you do that. So you click on this, you make sure that it's visible in the viewport. Okay, show shaded material in the viewport. Now let's see what happens if we assign this material to the window now. Let me make sure that I'm not in modify. Okay, let's select this window entirely. Then select this end material here, make sure that this is selected, and then assign material to the selection. Okay, let's go ahead and see how it looks now. Alright, so we have the exterior timber element, and we have the interior metallic element. We will see it in render how it looks and how it reflects light, because now it doesn't, it's not changing. But you can see the difference. Like for example, if you want to change this inner part, of course, as well, the assigned material for these two is like 1 and 2. 1 here, 2 here. 4 and 5. So you can go ahead and change that. Maybe I'll try it one more time so you'll understand a little bit better than this. Now we have the material assigned to this. It goes even like this one that we already turned into editable poly. It doesn't matter. If you assign it to that one, it will work as well. So you can see we have everything here, but then again, you know you remember the UVW map, because the wood part doesn't have a UVW map. It doesn't show properly. So I go to modify, click on U, find the UVW map, and I make it box. and I'm trying to find like kind of a best setting. This is not a good for the window, but just anyway, for the sake of practice, let's see. We make this all like equal. Let's see if we can make it reasonable size. Maybe 100, 100, 100. Let's go to Gizmo and rotate it, because it doesn't really look nice now. Or just put, like, for example, this here. Okay. Now we have the wooden element here. Okay. Now it's okay for the material ID. So let me do it one more time for this window. Let's use different colors or some different materials as well, just so as for the sake of practice. This is how you use this slate material editor. I like slate material editor much more than the compact one. So let me create one more of this. I'm just going through the process again. Multi-subobject. Okay. Multi-subobject. Double click. Create it. Now double click. Make sure that it's highlighted with the dash line. Very important. Select 5 for now for the window. Alright, so let's say I want to have another window here. So I create another architectural material here. Let me shift and drag it 1 time, 2 times. So let's say I want to have 5 different types here. Let's even give some of them some texture. Let's say, for example, I have this texture. I want to give one part this texture, diffuse color, bump map, or just bump map, doesn't matter. So let's say this one, double click on it. Let's say this is masonry material, so I don't want to see any reflections. Let's say this one, I'm doing this just for the sake of practice, so you know, like it really doesn't matter what you pick or what kind of relationship you create here. Like even this one, if you want to have wood, you don't even have to go like do another one. You can just drag it from here and like drop it here. And let's say, okay, I want to have the diffuse color of this one wood also, and I want to have also the bump map of this one. So you see, it's a kind of complicated work. It's just assigning this picture to this material. Number 3 in the middle always is glass. So glass clear. You can have glass translucent if you're working with kind of, a shower or something like that. For this one, I'll just double click. Let's change the color to something. I just want to show you like how different materials we can. Don't click on this like I'm doing. Just click on the name, because it will just enlarge that part. And let's say this one, I'll just put another color, a blue or something. Alright, so number 3, the important one, the glass, always goes to this. The rest, just let me see what we can do. Okay, this one, let's say this one, So we're creating a kind of a more complicated material with 5. Now let me select this window, select this. I have to make sure that these are, when they are selected, that the show material in the view, and it will mark it with a kind of a red diagonal, like let's say hatch over it. So make sure that you see this red, because if you don't see it, you will not be able to see it here. So like I click here, I select this material when it's outlined with dash line. I click on assign material to selection. Now if I go and look, you see it's one window with 5 different materials. Here the interior frame, exterior frame, everything is different now. If you want to see the material, you click on it, because now it doesn't have a map. Okay, UVW map. I hope that you understand the logic behind it. So you have to do this once for one of the windows, especially when you're designing something and your material is already set. So you do it once, and after you did it once, you just assign it to the window. For example, in the case of apartment building that we built, you make it once and then you assign it and then you copy it, because you have to give material before you copy something. Otherwise, you have to go around and just do it maybe again 50 times until you get the final result. So now you can see here. Let me zoom on this. So you can see I have assigned 5 different materials to this window, and it works for your modeling as well. It's very useful. Let's say I have a box here. Okay. Let's say that the sides, I don't want to break it into pieces or like something else, or I don't want to make it complicated because I want to be able to change it easily later on. So when you turn it to edit poly, you can always do this. You can go ahead and assign material individually to the polygons, but like maybe I don't know, the material ID is a kind of a more professional way of doing this kind of stuff. Let's say, okay, shift down for a loop. Let's say the loop around it is timber. So set material ID here. You can see I can assign, let's say, okay, material ID number 1, and then I go click on the top and the bottom. Okay, this one. Let's extrude this so we have something else to work with. Where is extrude? Okay, so let's say this one, the other loop, set material ID number 2. For the top, let's go material ID number 3. So now you can see this is number 1. This loop is all number 1. This is number 2, and this is number 3. So if I go ahead now and assign the material we already built for like the window here. So let's say this is selected, this object is selected. Assign the material. And you can see according to that, like the 3 was transparent, so I did this here. 2 was timber, and this red one was number 1. So you can easily go ahead and change it if you want. You just have to press number 4 or pick polygon. Let's say this one, I change my mind. I want to shift it again to I want to make it timber. So what was timber? Timber was number 2, I believe. Or which one was timber? So the timber is assigned to number 4 here. Okay, so material number 4, timber. This is good because it works with the material ID. Let's say number 1. And let's say this is number 5. So you see there I have 5 different materials, so I can like assign I can like easily change it later on. So this is how you work in one object with material ID, and you can change it really easily later on. If you assign material to the polygons, you have to go and find the individual materials linked to that polygon. So the logic of material ID, same goes for the wall as well. Like especially if you are designing like a house with the wall. If you go here, let me just, after you break it into, change it, after you link it and you change it to editable poly. Let's say you have this wall, and the wall also has material ID. So if you go here, check the polygon, click on the polygon. You see the exterior is number 2. The interior is number 3, and these sides are always number 1. So number 1 for plaster. Let me do it one more time so you'll see. Like let's say I have another of these multi-sub objects. Let's put it here. Let's have another architectural because I need one more here. Double click this. Let's say it's I want to have paint flat for the interior. So remember, let's go check it out. What was interior? Interior was number 3. So I assigned this to number 3. You don't even have to remove the other numbers as well. Like they can just stay as they are, but it's more efficient to do it. So let's say the exterior is timber again. So I'm using the same timber that I used there. Number 2. And let's say the plaster, like I don't know, let's say this is the plaster. So let's say this is number 1. Now, if I select this entire wall, select this material, and assign it, you can see now we have this wall, which is the interior is plaster and the exterior is timber. I don't know what happened to this other side. Maybe it has different material ID and we didn't put anything. I think it does. Maybe top and bottom they have different material ID. I didn't check. Okay, number 4. So there are different material IDs. So this one that I did put for number 1, I can just put it for number 4 and number 5 maybe as well, and it will automatically update here. So how to work with material ID, very important, very useful, especially because it makes your job for the UV map and everything much easier. You don't have to go and do it individually for each item. Like for example, let's say you have a polygon, or if you want to have different things assigned to one object. Always very useful to work with this multi-sub-object material. You see our exterior is different with interior. This is especially useful when you are developing a project, when you have to render both interior and exterior at the same time. So this is it for the material ID. I hope that you use it. It's much more flexible. Let's go ahead. Like, just if you want to go now, you can go. But let's say for a door, There is the door. Okay, let's see. I think usually their material ID is same. So let's say I have this door. Let's assign this same to the door as well. Let's see how it looks, if it's working or not. You see, usually the doors and windows are following the same logic. So the tree is always glass. The exterior frame is always the exterior frame. Interior frame is always interior. And numbers are usually matching with each other. Okay. But anyway, so you can have different, like, you don't have to break this into pieces to assign the material. This is very useful. For example, now if you want to have a wall now, let's say I have a, no, let's say I have a wall here. Okay, and I just go ahead and put this in the middle of the wall from my top view. I'm not even being that precise here. Let's say this is the wall. Okay, I like to go down here, make this a little bit shorter. And now if I go ahead and link it, you see it's still the smart object, the wall, the window, because if I broke it into editable poly, I would not be able to do this. I had to go ahead and do boolean or just break this wall as well and just try to insert something for the openings. It will take more time. Alright, so this is how you do it. Same goes for the wall as well. Now I have this wall again, so this material I select, assign it, but you have to be careful about clockwise and or counterclockwise, because when you are drawing, if you draw clockwise, the inside will be number 2, and if you draw counterclockwise, the inside will be number 3. So when you are drawing walls, just make sure that you are following same rotation. Just keep your hand clockwise. Just always when you click, go clockwise. Otherwise, you can change the justification left or right if it's not, let's say, snapping to the points that you want, but go one direction. Otherwise, you have to make two materials for the left-handed ones and the right-handed ones, the clockwise walls and the counterclockwise one. Or you have to go and just change it manually, which is the thing I'm basically trying to avoid here. So this is for the material ID. I will just for it to be faster, I'm breaking this into two pieces. In the next, I will show you the lightings. Okay, now this is, I stop this. All right.